The Lamar Jackson contract saga continues. The Ravens quarterback, who is entering the fifth and final year of his rookie contract, still has not signed with the team. He said earlier this week the deadline is probably Friday. Anytime you say probably, that means it's not really a deadline. It would be artificial anyway. The question is, will both sides respect it and get a deal done? I doubt that a deal is going to happen. And one of the reasons why, there's two reasons. One, he doesn't have an agent, never had an agent, didn't need one 5 years ago, didn't need one when he did a slotted rookie deal. Those deals are easy to negotiate. 32nd pick in the draft, you negotiate that deal in 5 minutes. Franchise quarterback, MVP in 2019, quarterback deals that are structured differently, complicated process, agent needs to be talking to the front office every day, multiple times a day, fully engaged. That can't happen when you got a guy who's getting ready for football season. That's just the way it is. And it's not a knock on Lamar. It's a recognition of the reality, of the significance of this contract. It is an unprecedented situation to have a player representing himself with this kind of money at stake. And when the notion of a fully guaranteed contract, thanks to the Deshaun Watson deal that the Browns signed in March, when that becomes something the quarterback wants and the team says no way in hell, at some point the quarterback has to say, I'm not getting the fully guaranteed contract. My circumstances are different than Deshaun Watson's. He was in a position where the planets lined up perfectly. I'm not in that position. So what else are the Ravens willing to do? See, that's the question, Peter. And that's where an agent would be very helpful to Lamar Jackson. And I know that he kind of bristles at this and people think, why are you trying to carry water for the agents? Well, look, they are the experts. They are the doctors. They are the ones who can diagnose the situation and give the proper advice. What are the Ravens willing to do? And then when you take that information, you go back to the client and say, door number one, what the Ravens are offering. Door number two, $23 million this year with no guarantee beyond it and no idea what's going to happen. Here's the door I think you should take as somebody with experience and knowledge and wisdom and who isn't you, because you're too close to it, Lamar Jackson. Somebody else needs to give him that advice. And without it, Peter, this deal is never getting done.
Hey, Mike, let me ask you a question. What is the exclusive franchise number in 2023, approximately?
Approximately 46.
Okay. So if you're Lamar Jackson, isn't the question really, am I willing to play 2 years for $70 million? Isn't that the big question? Am I okay with playing the next 2 years at a position where I'm going to get hit a lot? Am I okay playing 2 years, $70 million? That to me is the question. If they don't get a deal done this year, and Mike, you know what? I absolutely agree with you in the way that just because they don't get a deal done by opening day, you tell me if Lamar Jackson, if you're Eric DeCosta, the GM of the Ravens, and Lamar Jackson walks into your office one Friday afternoon in week 6 and sits down and plops down in your chair and you close the door and he says, hey, listen, what would happen if we just wanted to do X? Okay? I will guarantee you, if it was agreeable to the Ravens, they don't care what was said on Labor Day weekend about some phony deadline. They're going to negotiate a deal, and by the time that he walks into the office or walks into camp the next morning, they will have a 27-page contract with all the addendums done, waiting for Lamar Jackson to sign. And again, I'm not saying it's going to happen. In fact, I don't even think it's likely. But this thing about a deadline before the season is silly. It's just silly. Let things settle down. Let everything get all cooled off. And then at one point during the season, when no one's antennae are up, and because nobody would be leaking this at that time, just try to get it done. And if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. Then again, you put it off till the end of the season and you see what happens. But The biggest question to me, if I'm Lamar, is am I willing to play? And I'm not saying that it absolutely would happen, but am I willing to play 2 years, $70 million? Am I willing to subject my body to those kind of things, knowing that if I got some serious injury in those 2 years, that I might have gambled incorrectly, rather than taking whatever the guaranteed number would be now, let's say 150, rather than getting that done right now and having a contract that would tie me to the team through the end of, let's say, the 2027 season.
And see, we don't know what's behind door number 2 for Lamar Jackson, if door number 1 is indeed $23 million this year, franchise tag next year, and possibly franchise tag the year after that, which would be $55.2 million if the exclusive number for 23 is 46. That's $124 million over 3 years. That is his ultimate path to freedom, because by the time you get to the third tag, it's a 44% raise over $55 million, which is almost $100 million for 1 year. They're not going to tag him a third straight time. That's the out. That's the Kirk Cousins path to free agency. 2 tags and you're gone. But he's got to get through 3 more years. Where will he be 3 years from now? Will he still be a guy that would be desirable on the open market to the point that some team would say, here's a 5-year fully guaranteed contract just like the one Deshaun Watson got? That's a hell of a risk. You have to know what is behind door number 2 to balance those two and to understand the right thing to do. How much of a guarantee are the Ravens putting on the table? What kind of cash flow is there in year 1? What kind of cash flow is there through the first 3 years? That's one of the standards that experienced agents look at. And this is not a knock on Lamar Jackson or his mother. If I was 25, 26 years old and my mother was trying to help me negotiate with a multi-billion-dollar organization a contract like this, we wouldn't know what the hell to do. I wouldn't know what questions to ask. I wouldn't even begin to formulate a responsible question at that age. Why? Because I'm focused on playing football. That's what's so ludicrous about what's currently happening. How in the world is Lamar Jackson carving out any time to meaningfully understand or learn about or appreciate these principles? He's doing it once. The Ravens do it all the time. And Peter, let me say this too. There's no indication that the Ravens are the problem here. They've signed a lot of guys in recent years. Now, I know they learned a lesson the very hard way with Joe Flacco a decade ago, but this isn't, it's just the Ravens being the Ravens. I mean, if it was Washington, then maybe we'd say, well, okay, here we go again with Dan Snyder and company. But there isn't a sense of dysfunction permeating the Ravens. There's nothing at this point to suggest the Ravens are the reason this is bogged down. I think this is bogged down because Lamar Jackson refuses to have an agent. And Peter, I hope to God that the reason is not the reason that so many other players have decided to go agent-free. They resent paying 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever percent to an agent. Because yet again, and I know people get triggered for some reason when I say this, but it's true. You can have 100% of a pie that's this big, or you can have 97% of a pie that's this big. You do the math. Don't worry about the 1, 2, or 3%. You're getting more pie at the end of the day.
You know, Mike, I think that's right. And I think that one of the problems, and I'm just trying to read tea leaves, I don't know, and I don't think we really know the issue. But if you're Lamar Jackson and you're trying to negotiate directly with a team, you know, you're obviously going to be getting advice either from the NFLPA or from your mom or from somebody else who basically, you know, he has no buffer, just exactly as you say. No one to tell him, hey, look, if you really want to get this done, stop asking for a fully guaranteed contract. Steve Bisciotti would sell the franchise before he would give you that. And if you want to challenge this and be on the last year of your contract for the next 3 years as you play, as you so desperately seek your freedom, that's fine. Do that. But know that there is no alternative that says that you're going to get a fully guaranteed contract, at least here in Baltimore. And Mike, I wrote this the other day, all right, and I think this is an important factoid when discussing Lamar Jackson's contract. And that is that there have been 4 other big contracts signed by quarterbacks this offseason. Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson. Those 4 contracts, the fully guaranteed portion of those 4 contracts comes out to 47% of what the total value of those contracts is. And we can debate what is a full guarantee, what's an injury, whatever. But the point is that the Deshaun Watson contract is clearly an outlier in these 5 big quarterback contracts signed in the offseason. So under almost any circumstances, if you really want to get a deal done, if indeed, and I don't know that he is asking for a fully guaranteed car. I don't know what he's asking for. But if that is on the table, you're just not going to get a deal done. So, and that's why, to me, the longer this goes, the more I figure that, look, the Ravens want to make a deal. And it's easy to say they want to make a deal, but they don't want this thing hanging over their head like a sword of Damocles. They want to get a deal done, but they're not going to do it with the kind of guaranteed money, 80 or 90% guaranteed even, that if Lamar Jackson's asking for it, it's just not going to get done.
Well, one reason I'd want to get it done if I was the Ravens, last year Lamar Jackson wasn't thinking about the contract at all. This year he clearly is. How much is he thinking about staying healthy? He missed the final 4 games of last season with an ankle injury. Is he more conscious of it? Will he play differently until he gets the contract? That's the reason to have a week 1 deadline. I'm not going out on the football field until I get my long-term security, both against injury and as it relates to what I otherwise would be getting if I keep playing under this deal. Peter, you made a great point, and this is a thread that I think we need to just tug on a little bit. The NFL Players Association has openly advocated for more fully guaranteed contracts. There was an essay posted by J.C. Treader, the union president, after the Deshaun Watson contract, putting the onus on agents to push for more fully guaranteed deals. We talked about this last week. They don't get a greater percentage if it's fully guaranteed. They'd rather have total dollars available, especially in a franchise quarterback contract where rarely, if ever, does the guy get cut. But to the extent that Lamar Jackson is being advised by the union, if that's what's happening, and I don't think that's an unreasonable supposition to make, what if the union is pushing him and pushing him and pushing him to demand a fully guaranteed contract, not because it's in his best interest to do it, but because this is in furtherance of the union's agenda to swing the pendulum toward fully guaranteed deals, as we've seen develop in other sports which do not make full guarantees part of their CBAs. Basketball and baseball, that's just kind of the way it's developed. Wouldn't the union love to have fully guaranteed contracts for all players? So this could be a situation where somebody who isn't really thinking of Lamar Jackson's best interests is pushing him to get a fully guaranteed contract for other reasons altogether than the best possible outcome for Lamar Jackson. That's an important point to keep in mind if he is getting his advice from the NFL Players Association.
Yeah, and like I said, Mike, I don't know where he's getting his advice. So, I'm just like people who are watching this show. We don't know. They don't know. I don't know. But you just get a feeling that if Lamar Jackson, really wants to get a deal done right now, he needs to start thinking about other ways to do a contract other than one with either fully or the vast majority of it being guaranteed.
Simple proposition. Number 1, what is the best number the Ravens will put on the table? Number 2, do I take it? Do I not take it? Do I go Joe Flacco and bet on myself, or do I take the money and call it a day and recognize it is a big pile of cash that I am depositing into my coffers for now and for years to come. And we always love it when a guy bets on himself. We love it. We love it because it's not our money. Yeah. It's great. It's exciting. Somebody's making a big bet. Ooh, how's it going to go? Oh, that's a shame. Didn't work out. Well, no skin off my nose. It's your bet that lost, not mine. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.